The St. Louis Battlehawks. What a Boulevard Bowl tour spot it was. The leg of Donnie Hegman sending us to our first ever XFL overtime. It's kind of destiny that we went there this week. I always wanted to see these overtime rules shake out. Shout out Sam Schwartzstein. This is the guy who developed these rules. And remember, even before college football implemented them, Sam was on top of this kind of shootout style overtime. And it delivered. The only people who didn't enjoy this were those of you who had the St. Louis Battlehawks on the spread. And you realized, I can't score 6 in overtime. This isn't traditional OT. Can only get 2-point conversions out of it. So the most you could win by was 4, and St. Louis ended up doing just that. When I tell you guys the roof blew off the place, it was so loud. And you need to be following along at Matty Fresh TV on Twitter. I post as much content as I can. This was so much fun to be on the field level and see this place just completely erupt, and the passion from the fans and the players and the coaches. What a scene it was at the Battle Dome. That place gets cranked up on third downs, and although Vegas did their best at times to silence the crowd, those fans stayed invested. Even when they were down 9 in the fourth quarter and it seemed like there was no hope, nobody was leaving. It was still very loud in there. You can never really count out these St. Louis Battlehawks. They make your heart race. They get to a different gear later in games. It seems they start off a little slow. We saw them do it against San Antonio. They had it against Seattle. Remember, DC was a 2-possession game in Audi Field back in week 3. All of a sudden, DC fumbles on the 1-yard line. St. Louis gets it back, scores a touchdown, and they made that a game late. So they have a knack for this. Credit if you were getting points with Vegas. I did want to touch on that for a minute. You had the right side. And this spread was up and down like Nick Tiano helicoptering into the end zone there on one of the 2-point conversions that we showed you. It opened up 6.5 on Monday, made its way to 7.5 Saturday morning. And as soon as I got to the Dome, we got a warm welcome from the all XFL St. Louis Battlehawks PR staff. Great people out there. It was about an hour and 15 minutes before kickoff. We were able to get the news from them and break it that A.J. McCarron was not going to play. Anthony Beck making that decision to hold A.J. out and rest a sore shoulder. Not good news for Battlehawks fans. A lot of you also that were betting on them were in my mentions saying DraftKings should refund your bet. You got to have this inside info. I said he was questionable. I told you guys, and I know we didn't know right until just about kickoff, but he was not playing, and that means Nick Tiano of Choo Choo Chattanooga, the Mocs, getting in there as QB1. And in the blink of an eye, in that hour between us finding that out and kickoff, the line goes from 7.5 to 5. So Vegas telling you, and when I say Vegas, I don't mean the Vipers, I mean the odds makers, telling you A.J. McCarron is worth 2.5 points. That's huge. So the field goal that Rod Woodson decided to fake was worth 3 points. They could have had that on the board, and he told us in the press conference after the game that he regretted calling that fake. He says when he saw how St. Louis lined up and they were rushing from that side, that he should have called a timeout and canceled it. So he took responsibility for the loss. In his defense, I will say, the Vegas kickers have been the worst in the league all season. Bailey Giffen missed over half of his kicks. They cut him loose. They bring in Sam Sloman as a new signing. He missed from 43 earlier in the second quarter. So I think if you're going to blow it dead there, if you're Rod Woodson and cancel the play, I'm going to run a play from scrimmage. You had 11 seconds left in the game. It was 4th and 2. You had 2 timeouts in your pocket. To me, that's prime Jalen McClendon using the wheels territory. They also had 208 yards rushing. So if you want to run the ball there, you have 2 timeouts. Either get your kicker closer or you have time to take a shot to the end zone. So I don't agree with the field goal or the fake. I would have actually went for it. The execution of that play was way off. St. Louis rubbed it in because they went and converted their own fake special teams play. Punter Sterling Hoffrichter, now number 1 all-time in XFL passer rating. He passes out John Trey Kirkland by going 1 for 1, 64 yards and a touchdown. But let's be honest, that was all Gary Jennings. He deserves a helmet sticker. He was really turning on the Jets. He ran right past Matthew Sexton, got a great block there. on that run from Steven Mitchell right at the end, but Gary Jennings could fly. One of the fastest players in the league. That was an impressive display of speed. And I usually head down from the press box to the field with about 5 minutes left in these games to catch the end. You can guess where I was during the 64-yard fake punt touchdown. In the elevator. It happened to me in D.C. too. I missed the pick six. So maybe it's me. I don't know. Maybe I was the bad luck that kind of didn't get St. Louis going in the first half, but what a play that was. The dome, just probably as loud as it ever was. That was incredible. 35,167 in attendance. They now have 3 games where they got over 35,000 and a huge one with Seattle coming up where they're going to need about 45,000 because it's that big of a game. Win's a win here. I know Nick Tiano threw 2 picks, which in the last 4 games combined, that's as many as AJ threw. He had 194 pass yards, 51 on the ground was pretty impressive. And he led his team to a victory. It wasn't pretty, but he managed the game well. Shout out our guy, Steven Gonzalez there at the end of the game on that last play where Brian Hill takes it up the middle. They had him pull as a guard, and he threw the lead block for Brian Hill to plunge in there from 2 yards out. Anthony Beck saying after the game, AJ should be ready to roll in week 9. So that decision could have backfired easily. AJ wanted to play, but they get a win, and it might end up paying off here, the gamble that Anthony Beck takes. The Vipers outgained the Battlehawks. They also won the turnover battle. Just didn't make enough plays. And that's what it comes down to. And I know there was a couple of questionable calls right down there at the end in overtime. First, Blandino reverses the 2-point try, saying the ball carrier wasn't in. I'm sure Vegas fans had shades of Luis Perez on the goal line in D.C., where the Blandino reversed that call as well. And then Martavis Bryant pushing off on the OPI really sealed the deal for Vegas. And Rod Woodson not happy after the game. I've said many times, the most heated rivalry in the XFL is not between 2 teams. It's between Rod Woodson and Dean Blandino. And that rivalry intensified on Saturday afternoon in St. Louis. What a game it was, our first ever XFL overtime, and we got to witness it. Thank you, Brian Stahl, and the rest of the wonderful staff there in St. Louis for the warm welcome.